Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Physicists say time travel can be simulated using quantum entanglement. When we figure out exactly what that is, we'll go back and update this story. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
And we made it to Friday. Well, I hope everybody is doing good. Well, JC, how about you? This week has just kind of flew by fast.
It did fly by fast. It was almost like it time traveled into the future.
Well, why not in the past?
It could be. If that's the case, we would be on Monday and not Friday, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not sure if we're ever on. Anyway, a retired Pentagon official says UFO activity is either aliens or people that are not so good.
Well, he's not being judgmental, is he? Oh, my goodness.
I don't know, but that's a good answer, isn't it? Well, it could be aliens or people that aren't good. I don't know. Air Force officer goes public with a terrifying UFO encounter, and it's coming right for us.
Ooh, I hear these reports all the time. I'm waiting for one to land. They're always saying, "Oh, we spot this, spot that."
Well, I told you, if they do land, they need to land in, Washington, D.C. And I hope they actually are cannibals with humans, because if they land in Washington, D.C., they got the Congress, they got the Senate, right? And then they got the people in the White House. It used to be, a different color, but it kind of burnt down, so that's why they painted it white. But I tell you what, these ETs, if they eat the brains of all these politicians, as I said so many times before, we don't have to worry about it, because, they'll be dead within so many hours of lack of, nutrition.
Yeah, it'd be malnutrition.
Yeah, they'll starve to death.
Yeah, that's for sure. Boy, wouldn't that be something? But listen, only time will tell.
Well, a man is sending his DNA when he dies to the moon. And the reason why he's sending it to the moon when he dies is so aliens can clone him and put him in a zoo.
Oh, my goodness. What has he been watching? It sounds like something Jack Nicholson would say. Or Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason. Nicholson wouldn't say that. Jack Nicholson would say, "No, I like sitting under a tree and reading a book." That's what he would say.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
A big shout out on people that are listening to us on iHeart. One of the radio stations on iHeart sent me a list of some people that they're going to be on their chat on that station tonight. A big shout out to Larry Hagelin, to Steve Cox, Terry Morgan, Sue Thomas, Mark Davis, Betty A. Johnson, and Candy Baker. You know that Baker. Remember the Baker? They had that religious show on cable TV and TV years ago.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah, the Bakers. Helen Roberts. Well, a big shout out. I'm glad you are finding our show on iHeart radio stations. Well, anything big, special going on next week on the show?
Well, yeah, we've got some good guests coming up. We've got Eric Mintel coming up, talking about all things paranormal. We've got Jeremy Dilley coming on, a professional wrestler. We got Glenn Steckling coming on for the UFO update. He's got a new book out. And then we got Naora Isley. Next Friday, she's been abducted and taken to the moon, as a matter of fact.
And we're going to talk about wrestling, and I'll tell you, that's a little bit different from the paranormal, but I can tell you, a lot of people might remember who Jimmy Stuka was. Andre the Giant. And I can tell you, I knew him very well, and some other famous people. Why? Well, my wife, when I married my wife, I married into that family. And the very first thing of wrestlers, because her cousin was Jimmy Snuka. And here's the thing: when you get married, and you're at their grandmother or her mother's place, their grandmother's place for dinner, and you get introduced to these big hulking guys, right? And they say, if you ever hurt her, this is what I'm going to do to you.
Oh my. Yeah, he's gonna take you out and lay you out and get on top of the steel cage and give you the super snooker.
Anybody remember a Steve Gibbs? Not the Gibb brothers, the Bee Gees, but Steve Gibbs, who actually was making a time machine back in 1985 range, all the way up to his death, actually, in 2021. Well, he sent one to Art Bell, and when I went over to visit Art Bell in Pahrump at that time frame, Art showed it to me, and he goes, you need to get one. Well, he got his for free. I had to pay $250. He actually had 3 models. The economy model. Then they went up from there. Art never plugged his in to see if he could travel in time. I can tell you, it was interesting. Maybe I did go back in time.
Yeah, maybe.
How do I know I'm actually even here right now? And this is 2023. I could be, if I'm not here, then I'd be some other place, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And then, wait a minute. If I'm some other place, then I couldn't be physically here, could I?
Only time will tell.
That's right. Well, anyway, let me do this little break, and then we're going to bring on who tonight?
We're going to bring on Marshall Barnes. We're going to talk about some time travel.
It's going to be interesting, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The biggest names, the brightest stars on the red carpet and on the air with Gary Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, when it comes to the big get, Gary's got him. Like voiceover artist Jim Meskimen. Is his mom really Mrs. C on Happy Days? Allison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie. Oh, speaking of Little House, Gary's got Dean Butler from the show talking about his book, Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond. Here's much more. Yeah, there is. Check this out. Loretta Swit, Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH. So listen to Gary Anderson, because you never know who's gonna show. That's why we do these promos, right? Gary Anderson, where the stars come out to play. Tune in early, tune in often, right here on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. From beautiful Gig Harbor, the Night Dreams Broadcasting Network presents Night Dreams with Gary Anderson.
Well, JC, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about Marshall Barnes?
Well, Marshall is a research and development engineer in advanced concept science and technology. Now, he has a long history in entertainment, technology, production, and video industry that is only matched by his achievement in science and innovation.
Well, welcome to the show, Marshall. How are you doing this Friday evening?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm enjoying listening to these promos you guys are doing.
Hey, I can't help it. I'm a showman.
I mean, the big radio voices. I'm really digging that.
Well,
yeah,
we tried.
Absolutely.
We try no matter how long the time takes. Well, Marshall, what got you into, doing video and all this stuff? Then we'll get into the time travel. What got you into that? But what got you into doing video and all this stuff? And what do you actually do in video?
Well, let's see here. It goes back to like 1970. And I saw a light show when I was at school. I went to an arts intensive school. And in fact, it was one of the first arts impact schools in the country. And some kids from Ohio State University came by, and they put on a light show, and it was so intense. It was incredible. I had never seen anything like it before in my life. And I mean, it was like the psychedelic stuff like they used to show at the Fillmore East. And so that stuck with me. And when video technology came along, I wanted to get involved with it. And the whole music video thing. And so I took courses on video production, and then I started doing them. And that's how I got my start. So, and then from there, I was basically always interested in technology. So I got involved with all kinds of different aspects of it. and also engineering and audio. My big influence, actually, as far as the video thing goes, what really got me into the video itself was I was a big Todd Rundgren fan, and Todd fell in love with video in the 70s, and I saw some stuff he was doing, and I wanted to do the same kind of thing, and not more. And so that's what got me. That's what really drove me to pursue the video as a profession. So, and then from there, it's a long story. I was involved in entertainment. I also am a musician too. So, and I was influenced by Todd, in terms of being able to go into a recording studio and do everything yourself. All the voices and the production and engineering and play all the instruments, all that stuff. So, I was into all that. But I eventually got burned out in the entertainment industry things, and I wanted to go on a kind of a hiatus. I wanted to pursue the meaning of life, and I spent the 90s doing that, basically running around, living in what you might call an X-File lifestyle. I was doing special investigation work and chasing UFOs and all that stuff, and then I moved from that to actual wanting to get more involved in hard sciences, and I built my own lab, and that was going to deal with issues dealing with optics and electromagnetic field theory and the practical implications of the extreme implications of practical application of the extreme implications of quantum theory. And that's, went on from there.
Well, that's very interesting. You did that, going into the video, and I've been in photography, my other passion in life besides using my mouth. And I never became a priest or the president of the United States, which people thought I would become when I was a kid. But, I really was in photography. Video cameras, for example, they were huge at one point. And even for broadcasting, they were huge. Now, even for movies, I've had numerous producers, directors on through the years on my show, and we started talking about, well, what type of cameras do you guys use? Not Black Magic anymore. No, we're using this, this camera, mirrorless camera. It costs under $2,000, and they're doing scenes of movies and commercials with that, not the big expensive cameras. That's how far technology has really advanced.
Oh, well, here's the deal, and this is a real life story. I was teaching music video conceptual theory at Ohio State for a while, and I would take students out and we would shoot videos. But we were using a one tube, it was a Nikon tube video camera to do it. And it was industrial grade. And I knew that the cameras were getting so good that you could take one and shoot video and then put it on the air broadcast, right? And so what happened was PM Magazine, I don't know if you ever heard that show before.
Oh, yeah.
It was like one of the first. Yeah. PM Magazine came out to cover what we were doing. So they're shooting us, and while we're shooting our video, and then they took our video and they showed some scenes from it within their package, okay? And they put it on the air. I'm going, aha, there it is, proof of concept. There's my footage shot with the one tube Nikon video camera, it's a Panasonic, right in next to like this $35,000 Ikegami camera footage, and you couldn't tell the difference. You could not tell the difference. It was perfect. I loved it, man.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah, one director told me, back a couple of years ago when I had him on, some of the car scenes, that they were worried about their cameras, getting destroyed, which some of these cameras, are very expensive, what they use for making movies.
Right.
So they had all these Panasonic cameras that cost them like around $2,000 with a lens, and they had like a dozen of them to catch the car scenes doing it. And here you go to the theater, right? And here it is off of, this $2,000 cameras. Couldn't do that back 10 years ago.
Right.
So what got you into thinking about time travel? You need to buy one of these machines if you can find them on eBay. I'll tell you that. Or that I'll sell you mine.
The Gibbs thing?
Yeah, the Gibbs thing.
Now, I remember when he was selling those. I didn't buy one. I looked at the schematic, and I read, and also I heard him on Art Bell's show a number of times, and I could tell that it was, if anything was happening, it was due to effects on your mind, person's mind, because of the electromagnetic field that it was generating.
You mean from the windings of like basically,
Right.
yeah, the wire wound like a transformer. You're getting a buzz off of it. That's what you're getting.
Right. Right. So, and there were instructions that he had, like, lie down, and he was preparing the person mentally, for where he wanted to go. And then I'm just thinking, okay, and then they turn the thing on, and they're basically just, inducing hallucinations, probably, as far as anybody going anywhere.
Well, I don't
So,
know. I did plug mine in back years ago when I first got it, and then I took it apart. Then I was really shocked. But I did get a little vibration. There was they had different models. You had the economy model, which basically had like a little like wand attached to it, and you'd hold it with your two hands. Then it went up to there. I don't know. I didn't astro travel, but when he first was on Art Bell, Marshall, he never told Art or the audience that it was going to be astro travel.
right.
Yeah, he kind of like led you on. You could go back in time. And then I remember Art saying, well, how do you come back? Oh, you just flip some switches. I don't know. But
yeah, I remembered all that stuff. And Mad Markham, too.
Madman
Markham.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Again, I have electronic background. Stealing these power transformers, right?
Yes, right.
And
creating a Jacob's ladder, right?
Yeah, and having all this high voltage, right?
Oh yeah.
And he claimed at the end he stepped into it and he traveled back somewhere in time, somewhere else, in the country. And he lost his memory. I can't buy that. I'm telling you, I remember one time in a radio station, a guy was named Herb. His last name was Nightingale, not the singer, Nightingale, right? And he used to keep saying, well, I'm related to her. I said, do you know she's black? Oh, I didn't know that. I said, don't tell people you're related to somebody just because they use the last name. That might not even be their real name. Anyway, here's a transmitter, right? An AM transmitter. Right. Hell of a lot of voltage, okay? Enough to make every bit of your hair burn off your body.
Right.
And he's in there with a vacuum cleaner while I'm broadcasting live with a metal wand. And the capacitors were that big, by that big in it. And I tell you, he could have astro traveled on that one.
Well, that's what happened with Tesla. A lot of people think that Tesla was experimenting with time travel, and he wasn't. He did have an accident with it in his lab where he got electrocuted, and he thought he was going to die. But what he said he saw was like stuff from history and all that kind of stuff. And I have actually heard of people experimenting with like strobe lights that have gotten that same kind of hallucination. So, but that's what happened. It was an accident. He wasn't actually doing anything to try to do time travel. Now, he had a theory about being able to affect space and time with a special kind of wall of light, which has some potential, I think, if you do some weird things to it, which he described as tuning, because I've actually experimented with a wall of light. It was pulsating, and it's pretty far out. We're not done messing with it. But, that's real. But the story that he was actually build a time machine or whatever, that's not really true.
No, and again, strobe lights don't. If you ever been in a room with a lot of strobe lights, I have. Me too. You do get the feeling like a time is flashing by because of the strobes. It does something to your brain.
Right. It takes away part of it. For example, if you move your hand, you don't see the continuous motion. And so it's like zip, 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 and it's like you're a time delay thing happening. It's pretty far out.
But is that
but what we were doing with it was we were bouncing it off of a white wall, and that's something no one's really seen before. What you end up creating, if you're in a white room and you've got strobe lights and you aim them the right way and you bounce them off of those walls, the room disappears. You're in a white void. It's like incredible. And I've shot video of that before too. And when people were watching, like, what is that? And I told them, and people are used to seeing darkness. Okay, you close your eyes, you're in a dark room, turn out all the lights. They're not used to seeing nothing but white light, and not coming directly from light bulbs either. I mean, all you see is light suspended in space in front of you. I mean, it's totally far out. Absolutely.
Again, there are some people who claimed, I'm not going to mention their name, out of respect who they are, but that the government for the last 50 years or more, okay, had time travel capability, not just time travel, but to be able to transport you to other off worlds. What's your feeling on that one?
Well, I've not talked to a government scientist yet that even can imagine how to have that conversation. I don't think that they've done it. And one of the strongest reasons why I don't think they've done it is because in the literature that exists in terms of the physics and all that, they have not reached the point where they would be able to do anything close to that. Not only that, most of these scientists, they don't even know what time is. Okay? I mean, actually, most people don't know what time is. As a matter of fact, in the physics world, what people are doing is, what the scientists are doing, they're debating whether or not time even exists. Okay? So that's a problem. If you don't know what time is, then how are you going to do time travel? I mean, it's kind of like, a requirement. And so that's why there has not been any real major breakthroughs or anything like that as far as time travel goes, because they don't understand the concepts that would have to be involved. They don't even know what time is, and it goes downhill from there. And they keep cranking this stuff out. They keep cranking out the wrong information, and they keep wanting to go back and look at things from stories like plot devices. Like, what happens if you go back in time and you kill your grandfather? I mean, like, give me a break. I'll tell you, the reason why I say give me a break is because here's the deal. All right. If you go back in time and you try to kill your grandfather right now, you're violating the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. So if a scientist tells me about paradox, I'm like, shut up. You don't even understand that we're beyond general relativity and special relativity now. We're dealing with quantum mechanics, and that's how you start to approach having a proper discussion on time travel. You've got to go beyond the Einstein level, because time travel is a bigger deal than what Einstein was talking about. He didn't even believe in time travel, as a matter of fact. So that's one of the things about it right there.
Well, haven't they proved, though, that they have created a microsecond of, reversing time in a lab? I read that back.
Okay. Here's the problem. And it has to do with language, and it drives me crazy. But when scientists talk about time reversal, they're not talking about literal things going backwards. They're talking about reversing the effect of something. And I hate it when they do that, because it's misleading people. But, that's basically what it boils down to. We have a serious problem in the physics community is with the language, because sometimes for example, time crystals. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever covered that story or not. Time crystals have absolutely nothing to do with time. Okay, but because they have certain properties, then they want to label them time crystals, and it has nothing to do with it. People go, oh, scientists have discovered time crystals. Now maybe we can go back in time and do something to make a time machine. No, sorry, it has nothing to do with it at all. And a lot of these stories that come out in the news have nothing to do with time travel either, although they claim they do. If you read anything at all in the news about messing around with the speed of light, it has nothing to do with time travel, regardless of what they say. Because the speed of light, first of all, you can't go faster than the speed of light. Second of all, the speed of light is not going to do the things that you need to do to try to do time travel. I mean, it just doesn't do it.
Can I go in a black hole and maybe and go in time on that? We have to take a quick break, Marshall, and we'll be back. And then I got to ask you about time slips. Which could that be time travel? Because I got something to tell you. My regular listeners know what I'm going to say. All the other people that are just tuning in, they might find this really interesting. We're going to be back with Marshall. We're going to talk more about time machine, time travel, all that stuff here tonight on Night Dreams Talk Radio. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back.
This is my last letter for you. I don't know why I thought that I could make you happy. Did I disappoint you? Over and over, I've seen this movie. I cannot take it anymore. Now it's safe to set you free. But where are you going? Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Seems I played the game for too much love. I guess it's too late for both of us. Despite of everything, I want you to remember me. Don't you forget this little boy that loves you.
If you're not watching us live on YouTube, you're missing a lot. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and become a night dreamer. Captain Paul Watson was a co-founder of the Greenpeace Foundation in 1972 and the founder of Sea Shepherd in 1977. In 2022, he was forced out of Sea Shepherd in a hostile takeover. So, he established the Captain Paul Watson Foundation to carry on the work they've been doing for half a century with the specific strategy of aggressive nonviolence, which means aggressive intervention without killing or injuring anyone. They took the name he created and the logos he designed, but they couldn't take away his life's mission. The foundation will carry on. This summer, with their new ship, the John Paul DeJoria, they intend to intervene against the Icelandic slaughter of endangered fin whales. And in 2024, they plan to be in the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary to stop the return of Japanese whalers who will be defying the International Court of Justice. They have one ship, but they need two more. Please visit paulwatsonfoundation.org to become a monthly donor. By becoming a monthly donor, you can help grow their Navy and help save our oceans. We don't survive on this planet with dead oceans. If the oceans die, we die. Please visit now www.paulwatsonfoundation.org. Deep in the Amazon jungle, one man.
Hi, I'm Stan Gordon. Check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, let me finish. One man.
Hi, I'm Mark Muncy. Check out Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, do you mind? One man, naked and afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
You and me both, sister. One man, Gary the Big Guy. No boats, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
Hey, any more and you'll have to pay a royalty.
Okay, that's it.
Hit it.
From the summer vacation studios deep in the Amazon jungle, from that tree right there. See at the top, he's swinging.
I'm losing my mind.
Twice?
All right. Coming to you live, for now, on Night Dreams Talk Radio, naked and afraid, Gary the Big Guy Anderson.
And we are back. I had to put a blanket around me because it's cold being naked doing the show. I can tell you that much. Now, Marshall, you don't know what it's like to sit in here naked and afraid. Something happened years and years ago when my kids were young. Yeah, I was an avid photographer. There was a place up by Mount Rainier. I loved doing waterfalls, and I was doing, photographs of waterfalls. And there was a cafe that we went by, and it had a reader board by the side of the road. It said hamburger and soda $1. So, my kids, hey, Dad, I'm hungry. So we go into this cafe. And now this cafe was the same cafe when I was a kid. And my parents and my grandparents, we'd all get in his little Nash Rambler. If you know what that is, it's a small car. And we would go from Seattle to, Mount Rainier. And you're like in the back seat and you're a young kid and you're all crunched up and squished in between everybody. And they're all smoking. And you just say, oh, God, I want to, Anyway, so we pull into this cafe and I noticed all the cars were really old. Now, of course, that was years ago, but they were really old, And we go in there and people are looking at us like, oh my God, are these ETs? And I'm looking at them and I'm going, God, they're wearing older clothes than my grandmother. Everybody was, looking like they were in their 50s. It was like middle of 1950. I'm not joking. And they're staring at us. And we sit, we order our food. We had the huge hamburgers. Even back then, they were huge. And we ate. And again, I finally told the kids, hey, we got to get out of here. People are staring at us. So we left. A week later, I decided, I looked at the images. I got to go get more. So naturally, Ricky and my other son, Scott, I want to go. I want to go there. They got great hamburgers. So we're going on the same road, going up Mount Rainier it's a place called Clearview. And we're driving. And I'm looking for this cafe. It was there off the side of the road. It's not there. And we go up and down the road 4 or 5 times. It's not there. Now, I noticed there was a pile of like burnt wood and bricks and all that stuff. It was off to the side. I go into the little store, the only little store in that area. And I go, there's a cafe down the road. I can't find it. We were there this last week. And the lady kind of like her mouth dropped open. And she goes, that place burnt down years ago.
Right.
What did I experience?
Time slip.
Well, it was
actually, you're not the first one to have something like that happen. I knew a guy. He ended up working for Bell Labs and he was there even when it was Lucent. And basically, what happened was he was driving with some friends. This is in the 70s through Ohio, and they went to this little place called Yellow Springs, Ohio. And Yellow Springs, Ohio is known anyway for being kind of like a synchronicity vortex. In fact, I've tested that concept before. It's true. Weird things will happen there that are synchronistic, as well as other kind of bizarre things. So at any rate, long story short, they went there, and when they got into town, it was like it was the 50s. And they were even playing, I think for the movie theater, they were playing The Blob as the movie. And it freaked these guys out so bad, they turned around and they shot at it. They didn't stop. They were like, because everyone looked different. Everyone was staring at him because these were like, this is the 70s. And everybody had, had long hair and all kind of stuff. And they were like, oh my God, what's going on? And it scared the heck out of them. And they shot out of there. And, I'm not exactly sure when they went back. I think they eventually went back, but Yellow Springs is, it's still there, and it didn't disappear or anything like that. But for that moment when they were there, it was another time period. And so that synchronicity, not synchronicity, but time slips, those are possible. No, I don't have a problem with those kind of things at all. I have some problems when people say they took pictures and they didn't come out. I'm thinking like, okay, well, why would that even happen?
Oh, yeah,
but
I got to jump in. You just opened up a wormhole right there. And JC, you can jump into on this one here too. How many times have we saw and talked about these time travelers, right? From the year 2225, for example.
Right.
And what are they showing, JC?
They're showing pictures, but Polaroid pictures of all things are showing, and they're from 200-300 years in the future. Well, maybe they're coming back to get the film. I don't know.
Yeah, think about that. Here they are showing Polaroid photographs or a photograph, right? Wouldn't it be a hologram or something else by then? I mean, I didn't realize Polaroid, would be a major success a couple 100 years from now again.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's totally bizarre.
I don't think they're time travelers.
I don't think they're time travelers either.
If they are, I'll tell you, they must have went back, maybe, I don't know. It's weird. Do you think time, the question before we go into this. Yeah. What would have happened if I would have stayed in that cafe longer? Could I got stuck in a vortex or in that time frame?
I don't know, because I mean, I want to say, okay, basically, if I want to look at it from a straight ahead scientific point of view, maybe you could have, whenever the shift happened, okay, you could have gone with it if you'd stayed. All right. And basically what we have to look at is what was actually going on. Like, did you go through what's called a Raman split and you were in a different time because of that? Or, we got to look at what it was that induced it or caused that difference, in the time periods. And that's what's all the way kind of wondering. I'm in a very interesting place right now where I'm at. Weird things happen in this area where I'm at right now, and one of them just start to happen. We get some strange things going on here. So anyway, back to your time slip. That's the issue. We don't know what induced it. Okay, something induced it, and we just don't know what it was. But the time slips are very interesting, and I love this kind of stories.
I tell you, I would hate to have been stuck in the 50s. But it would have had one advantage. One, I wouldn't be alive right now. But the other advantage was I could have been filthy rich. I would have known the future,
Possibly.
what stocks to buy.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I could have been.
There you go. There's that.
Yeah, I could have been a billionaire instead of a pennier. I know you're in. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know you were involved in Time Machine, or trying to create a time machine.
Right.
What is going on?
Basically, what's happening is, first of all, I had to figure out conceptually how could we do time travel, and once I figured that out, then I had to figure out, well, how can they build a machine or do something that's going to induce it? And you actually end up with two different types of designs. You end up having what we call the station model, and then you have the vehicle model. The station model is remember the old 60s TV show, The Time Tunnel?
Oh, yeah.
That's a station model. Stargate SG-1, that's another station model. In other words, you're talking about a facility that's fixed, and you time travel in and out of that. That's the station. Then you have the vehicle, which is the most famous vehicle time travel thing is the DeLorean from Back to the Future. And also you have the time machines that they had in the TV show on NBC called Timeless. Those are all vehicle versions.
Well, how about the original movie? It was made in the 50s.
Yeah, that was a vehicle.
Yeah, where the thing just spun in the back and he was in the sled and went back in time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That would be classified as a vehicle version. So once you have your vehicle, you have to determine how it is that you're going to affect. It's not really time. That's the other thing about it. I want to get this straight. In time travel, you don't really time travel. You're not traveling through time. Nothing does that. There's a number of physicists that have theories, like the transaxional interpretation of quantum mechanics has these things called alpha waves and echo waves that supposedly travel forward and backward in time. Nothing does that. Okay. And right now, I'll just tell you what time is. Okay, because I kind of brought that up. Time is what's connected to space. All right. Just like Minkowski said back in 1907, where time and space are connected to form the space-time continuum. The time's role is to allow things to happen, things to change, vibrate, move, all that kind of stuff. Space is where those things do it, where those events take place. So if it wasn't for time, you wouldn't have anything happening. And if it wasn't for space, there would be no place where things to take place. So that's how it all works out. But people forget that's how the things work. And instead, what they have done is they have taken duration, okay, and they have called that time essentially, and it's not. Duration is not time. Duration is the length of an event that takes place within time. All right, time allows duration to take place in the first place. So everything that we refer to as time clocks, calendars, all that kind of stuff, it's all duration. I mean, how many months are there in a year? 12, and so forth and so on. So those are all measurements of duration, all measurements of length of events or whatever. But time is what allows those events to take place. So that's the proper way to look at it. And then once you start doing that, then everything else has to fall into place.
Well, I got a question, right? Okay, I got a question about time, okay? Time, depending on where you're at, okay? It's all based on our time by the Earth's rotation. Now, if you go to Mars or you go to another planet, right, their time of rotation is either longer or shorter. So their course of a minute or a day or a year or whatever is going to be totally different. So how could then you time travel if it's not all uniformed across the whole galaxy?
Okay, well, first of all, nothing's uniform across the whole galaxy because of relativity theory.
Right.
Second of all, when you're trying to do time travel, what you're doing is you're dealing with quantum mechanics, and you're not even dealing with time. For example, there's that saying that, well, if you're going to do time travel, then you got to know where the Earth was back in, let's say you want to go back to 1066 and see the Battle of Hastings. So you have to know where the Earth was in space back in 1066, or you can't do it because otherwise you'll try to do time travel and then you'll end up just splitting in space then because you won't be there where the Earth was. And the problem with that is that we're dealing with time travel, not space travel. And what you didn't want to do is first of all, obviously you're starting out on Earth, but you want to be where that event took place in a quantum mechanical copy of it. You're not actually going to that actual, time. And that violates Copenhagen interpretation. And what I mean by that is Copenhagen says you only get one outcome per measurement. Now, in physics, an event is a measurement, okay? So that means you can't go back to the original 1066. It's impossible. It ain't going to happen. That's why the grandfather paradox and all these other paradoxes are a bunch of hokum because it wouldn't even work that way. But what would happen, because we can't rule out time travel, what would happen is it would induce the creation of a new parallel universe copy of that particular time. And we've proven that with physical experiments. I even got a double-blind, peer-reviewed paper published in a journal because I was able to do an experiment and film it and show that we were able to cause into being a laser hit out of nowhere. In other words, the laser pulse didn't show up. It just, the hit did. And we were talking about, I heard you guys mention the Mandela effect before. We're kind of afraid that that kind of thing is kind of associated with the Mandela effect because we're dealing with the Mandela effect with our work right now. And this is going to be interesting. The MacBook Pro 13-inch from 2013, that model, what they did was they took the audio or the line in and the headphone jack, and they got rid of the line in, and they made it so that supposedly you can plug your line in into the headphone jack and record audio inputs that way. All right. I bought one, and I was told that specifically that's what was going to happen because I wouldn't have bought it anyway. And otherwise, because I needed a line in, because I'm recording audio with GarageBand, stuff like that. Then I had an accident with it, and it got kind of messed up. So I set it aside, and eventually I got it fixed again several years later. So here we are now, and we're trying to use it again. We use the line in, and it doesn't work. And it's not because it's broken. That wasn't what was wrong with it. And I've been looking on the internet, and people were saying like, "Oh no, it never did that." But then other people were saying, "No, I remember it should do that, but it's not doing it now." And it's freaky. I mean, I don't like it because it's messing with my work. But that's something that I don't have an explanation for it except for the Mandela effect.
Well,
so
yeah, and it's a lot of things on that effect. It's happened to a lot of people. That's what's interesting. Michio Kaku, when he was on our show, when we were talking about even time travel, it would like a bubble. It would create multi-universes.
Well, yeah, that's what happens exactly. When we do the experiments, what happens is that you create, because of what you're trying to do, you create an alternate universe. It's called decoherence, and that's what we were getting. What we did was there was and this gets kind of deep, but there's these experiments in quantum mechanics called retrocausality, and what they do is they shoot a particle down a path, but then they have this little screen or something that can pop up, really quick, and it will pop up after the particle's gone by, and they get timing to such a degree that for some reason, then the particle doesn't show up at the detector. It shows up as if it hit the barrier and bounced off and went to another detector. All right. So I'm looking at that, and they're saying, see, we changed the path. We changed the past of the particle. I'm going like, no, that's a paradox. Paradoxes are not allowed. And I got to look at this again. And then I did, and I'm thinking, okay, what they did was they're creating a new parallel universe with them in it. That's what's going on. So then I did my experiment to test it, and I filmed it, and we were able to analyze it frame by frame. And sure enough, we used an electric fan as our shutter thing, and then basically, we had a beam splitter and all the rest of it, and we were able to get not particles, but pulses. Okay, pulse hits to just appear, and we could, because everything was being filmed, we knew that a laser hadn't been fired when that hit happened. So what happened literally was we were in a new parallel universe copy where the hit happened, but the pulse came from someplace else, and in a way it's hard to wrap your mind around that, but that's literally what happened. So in effect, that kind of lays a case down for the Mandela effect to be real. But the question is, what is inducing the parallel universe split, the decoherence, that gives you one, a universe where everybody thinks it's Berenstein Bears versus, Barnes or whatever Stein Bears, or Berenstain versus Berenstein,
right?
All the other stuff. That's the question. What is happening, and why wasn't everybody on the same page with it? That's what needs to be looked into, because that's what makes it sound like it's kind of crazy. That's just a case of bad memory. But with this freaking MacBook Pro 13-inch, thing from 2013, that's no joke. We're talking about a real piece of technology that I had bought, and I remember it worked before, and now we're trying to figure out why it's not working. Not the computer itself. The computer works great now, but that input jack, and then the whole idea of you can't run an audio line in there. You got to, it doesn't work that way. They got rid of it. It's like, what? So yeah, it isn't funny. I'm not laughing about that at all.
But that's, I ran across that with a lot of things through my whole life. One thing I was going to ask you, if we could go back somehow and we go into a multi-universe, or we go a parallel world or whatever, and I go see my grandfather, that isn't my real grandfather. That is a duplicate of my grandfather on a parallel universe or a multi,
Yeah.
It's not the same grandfather. It kicked me in the butt when I said the wrong word to him.
It's not the exact same one.
No.
But it's him. It's him in that particular version of of the multiverse. And I want to stress that the multiverse model. I mean, you have the quantum mechanical version, and then you have the one that comes from cosmology. And sometimes people get them kind of mixed up. But for example, I'm trying to do time travel because I don't believe that the future is going to be, something I want to be around in.
Well, we won't be. That's the problem.
Huh?
It won't be. It'll be like when my wife fixes breakfast, and she always burns the sausage and the bacon to a crisp. That's what our future is. I hate to say.
Well, the thing about it is that instead of going to another planet like Mars, like Elon Musk wants to, I think the easiest thing to do and the most profitable thing to do is to solve this time travel thing and then go back, like say 12,000 years in the past, and start over again, bringing our technology and tools with us, and restarting it, and it'll be like a whole better place. and but we won't. It's not like we're going back to the Stone Age. We're going to have all of our technology with us, and then we could do all kinds of things from that point.
Well, maybe that's already been done. I really feel that this Earth has been rebooted and restarted several times.
Well, that's true. I've seen evidence of that too. But not necessarily vis-a-vis time travel. But
Dead giveaway.
We've had different civilizations come and go throughout thousands and thousands of years, much longer than what most people think.
Yeah, can you think going back in time and you decided, I got technology, yeah, I'm going to create my little my food, grow my own food, and start a new civilization. So you're digging in the soil to plant rice, right? Or corn, right?
Yeah.
And you find plastic milk bottles.
That would be weird, but
That's always that possibility. I'll tell you that one.
I don't know if you'd find that the time period we're talking about, but there are those things that are out of place. There's a name for them, and like if someone found a Swiss watch somewhere, and it's not supposed to be there. Obviously, it was from down in the ground deep enough that it should have been I think 15,000 years ago or something like that.
How about the cell phone? How about the cell phone? It was encased into a big rock.
I didn't hear about that one. But
Yeah.
that would be really bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Did it work?
Oh, I don't think so. You know how long lithium batteries last.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering, could it be, could you get it to work? If we took it apart, fixed it, would it work?
Yeah, actually,
I don't know the story.
Yeah, it was encased into a rock. Like the rock formed and the cell phone for somehow reason got encased into.
Right.
That's weird. How about these people that claim that they gone back to Washington? George Washington time frame, and do you believe that again, that maybe the government has this capability, like Philadelphia experiment and all this other stuff? Do you buy it?
Well, here's a deal, and I don't want to deal with the Philadelphia experiment that much because
We're
I
almost
was
out
in
of
the
time.
90s, and that's when I was on Art Bell. I was on Art Bell initially because of the Philadelphia experiment, because I was becoming the number one researcher in the world on the Philadelphia experiment. I found out what happened with the Philadelphia experiment. It's a long story. I can't go into it tonight, but I found out what happened. I'll just say this: the Al Buick story was 100% wrong. I mean, he made it up. That's a fact. The William Moore book that he did with Charles Berlitz, that had the most truth in it, and they hid it. And when they kept saying, "We would like to tell you this, but we can't because we've been warned," that the powers that be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That was the truth. And I'll tell you why real quick, okay?
Well, I got
and
only
doing my
3 minutes
research-
left. We got
Yeah.
3 minutes.
I found the fifth. Okay, in that William Moore book, there is a picture of John von Neumann. Okay, but it's clipped out of a larger picture. I found the larger picture, and there are people in that picture that were like, "Oh my God, they were there too." I mean, it was like one of those kind of things. So yeah, they were telling the truth in the William Moore book, but the Al Buick story is just made up.
Interesting. Now, do you have a website? Anything you want to share? Anything?
Sure. A good introduction would be to just go to about.me/Earth 12KB and then 4, the number 4. So that's about.me/Earth 12KB4. And all kinds of stuff is on there. It's a good place to start out and take it from there.
Well, Marshall, I just want to thank you so much for coming on. And if you ever want to come back on, get a hold of my producer. More than happy to have you back on, and we
It's
can
a lot of
continue.
fun. I love listening to you guys.
Well, I enjoy your knowledge. It's nice to have somebody it knows what they're talking about. Well, Marshall, you have a great weekend, will you?
All right, you too.
Okay, my
And
friend.
everybody else listening as well.
Okay, you take care.
All right, bye.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to go on break, and we come back from break, we're going to take call-ins. Do you want to talk about gardening? Do you want to talk about, well, your car doesn't want to start, or you want to talk about what you're cooking for dinner tomorrow? Well, that's what Night Dreamers are. We are one big, happy family, at least occasionally. Again, we've been sharing the call-in number. And JC, you want to go ahead for the people listening on the radio stations? Go ahead and give them the call-in number.
Well, the call-in number is 716-405-0253. 716-405-0253.
And we have a second call-in number, but on the second call-in number, no one's going to answer. Just let it keep on ringing, and then we'll pick it up. But again, when you call in, wait till the prior caller is off and give it about a minute and call in, because we're naturally delayed about a minute. So we're going to take this break, and when we come back, we're going to have fun. So again, we can talk about everything. So stay tuned. You're listening to Night Dreams.
Now, on Night Dreams, it's open lines, it's open subject, but no political or religious. Let's have fun. Remember, we are Night Dreamers. The lines are open. Call now, 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. Once again, here's our host, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. And when you hear this, that means your time limit calling in is almost over. Well, we got a great show lined up all next week. And I tell you, time travel. Would you go and step into some type of machine and be transported forward or backward in time? I don't know if I have I'm not going to use that word over there, but I don't think I have what it would take to go back in time. I tell you, it'd be really scary what could happen. We have Jody on the line. Jody, how are you doing?
Hey, Gary. How's it going?
Well, it's going better than not going anywhere. Would you go time traveling if you had that capability?
Oh, where would I go back? That's like a Pandora box of a question.
Well, would you go back?
I'm delayed. Oh,
would you go back in time, not knowing if you could come back to your normal time?
well, honestly, I've thought about it. And you know, when that rich Japanese guy had that call out for people to go to Mars there, I actually applied for it to go for the one-way ticket.
Really?
I did. Being a single parent and all, I actually thought about it, and I talked to my kids, and I said, hey, I'm just going to shoot it and go for it.
I was going to get my wife on that.
I only got the second email back and got denied, so.
I was going to send in for my wife and have her go to Mars.
Oh, come on. Who would be making you all those good meals there?
It's called TV dinners. I love TV dinners. You know, in fact, when I first got married to my wife, she took a roast. Okay, I didn't know this, but we had a gas, oven, and it had a pilot light on, and the roast was frozen. So we went to work. That roast thawed out in the oven for about 9 hours. And then when she got home, she cooked it. And she had a bottle of champagne, and she didn't eat it. I wonder why. I ate a whole bunch of it. And a few hours later, I was in the emergency room and almost died from extreme food poisoning. That's why TV dinners.
Excuse of menopause, because we're allowed to forget. So food poisoning, we shouldn't be charged with anything.
That's right. Well, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about cooking? Do you want to talk about whatever?
I don't know. I was thinking about it, and I can't even remember talking about deja vu and skip time. I can't remember if I've ever called in before after all these years. But I don't know, Gary. I was thinking I'd like to go into the orb talk, but I'm more in on the what's going on with the world lately.
It's scary, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I-
that's why I was thinking about having the conversation the other day with the friends saying, if you could just transport yourself to one location in the world, if you thought that would be the safest place to be, for food, shelter, water, hot, cold, radiation, where would that possible green zone be?
New
You know what I mean?
Zealand. New Zealand
trying to
in a
figure out.
cave. Go find the deepest cave in New Zealand.
Well, I'm thinking my Planet Palmer there that I started there, I'm getting a couple bunker or some sea cans buried there next summer. So I'm going
Interesting.
to have it all get stuff going down in there and get the garden going. And I'm really back into the prepping and stuff too. All this UAP stuff, I've been doing it for 25 years, and it's just a huge distraction now to what people need to really be planning.
Well, I also, just in case we get invaded by ETs, and I already got 2 cases of barbecue sauce for them as a gift, because I heard maybe they eat mankind. And the second is...
Yeah, I was going to say, they're going to fry you up.
Yeah, put me on the barbecue. Well, that's why I got the barbecue sauce. And the second thing is I got myself the nicest lounge chair and table, and I got a case of beer in the refrigerator, or spare refrigerator, just chilling in case there's a nuclear war going on, because I live near 3 military bases, Bangor, where they have the nuclear depot and the subs. I'm going to just take my lounge chair out there, and I'm going to prop my feet up. I'm going to open up a beer and wait for that beautiful bright light to take me to wherever I'm going to go.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. There's no way. Why would anybody want to be the survivor of something that maybe you'd be dead after 3 months of no food?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or how about no electricity? What are people going to do?
Well, I could live without electricity. And if you got bullets, or if you know how to hunt, you can survive for a bit. But I don't know. I think the sun's going to come and shine its rays down on everybody pretty soon.
Well, what am I going to do? No TV. God, I couldn't survive without TV if no electricity. I'm too old to have sex anymore.
I'm one of those people, Gary, waiting for the power to go out, because it's like forced reset. There's no buying cigarettes anymore. There's no buying wine. There's no YouTube. There's, you have to turn around and figure out what the hell are we going to do now.
Well, I'll have a lot more babies.
Yeah, well, I solved that problem a long time ago. So I got 2 years left here. So I'm on my end of my life and into my new life zone here coming quickly. So, yeah, any good single preppers out there, Gary, send them my way.
I will. My producer is single. He's going to be upset for me to say that, but he's single and available.
James, are you handy?
No, thank you. I'm good.
But
you're good, yeah. You're about where I am. Be single for too long, you kind of get comfortable where you are.
Well, I am so happy being married. I sleep under the bed at night.
Yeah. Well, maybe she kicks you off there.
No,
not on that. Are you on a CPAC machine yet, Gary?
Not yet. But she needs to be on one.
Good. No, those things are horrible. I just had a sleepover date with a possible date, and he had one, and that was a hard sleep.
I sure would do a lot to wreck a sex life in a relationship. I can tell you that much.
Wow, I can tell you stories, Gary. I just started dating after never, and I've had like 6 dates in 3 months, and it's been a gong show.
And how many of them in 6 months that you dated?
Have the Trekkers night, XXX night, and then I'll call back in on that one.
Yeah, we can do that. But how many out of the 6 months you dated first started talking marriage right away?
Only one really spoke up right away, and the rest I never called back. So
that's a good move.
That's how that game goes.
Well, hey, I do appreciate you calling in. I think we're almost at our time limit here. Yep, there it is. There's Tinkerbell playing its song.
Somebody else coming in. You get Kim phoning in there. Come on, girl.
Oh.
I know you want to talk about your plasma.
Yeah. Well, Jody, you have a good weekend, will you?
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, thank you. Could you imagine, though? I mean, being single and especially, could you imagine at my age? I'm 17. I'm only 17. Remember, time doesn't really exist. Am I actually 71 or 17? I don't like January because now it's going to be like a leap multiple years. I'm going to go from 17 to 27. Or am I going to be 72? I'm confused. So, that is like time travel, and things like that. Well, hopefully somebody calls in because I don't want to talk to myself all night. I do that a lot. I go around and when I'm reading the book War or Peace in my closet. I've been reading that since junior high school, and it was assigned to me. The teacher said, your assignment is to read War and Peace. So I went into the closet. Then when I come out, my mom said, did you read the book? I said, how could I read a book in the closet? There's no frickin' light in it. We got another phone caller? Let's take it. Who do we have?
Are you there?
Hi, this is Kim. Yeah,
Hi.
I'm here.
Hi,
This is Kim.
Kim.
And Gary, I'm going to let you pick what you want me to talk about. Do you want me to talk about the dildo orbs, which I'm sure Jody
I want to
wants
talk about your painting.
or the art?
I want to. Well, you got back into painting. The last time we talked, you said you kind of missed going out to your studio and painting. So, are you painting the walls or are you painting a canvas?
No, I'm going to be painting on canvases again. I haven't yet started, but I had the studio built in the backyard. And with my walking issues and with the winter coming on and things like that, I didn't want to have to be treading through the snow and slippery stuff to get to the art. So we're going to be bringing my art studio stuff back into the house so I can sit and paint and not have to worry about going and breaking a hip. So I'm pretty excited about starting that back up again because it's been a while.
Yeah, well, you can get one of those snowmobiles and go from your back porch to your studio that way.
I'd be out racing it. I'd probably be in jail but if I got a snowmobile.
Well, do you believe in time travel? Do you think the government has a facility where you go into an elevator, which some people claim, and you can be either transported back in time, forward in time, or even to Mars? Mars Candy Company, that is.
Yes, I think we do have and have had time travel capabilities for quite some time now. And I think there's several instances probably through history that's proved it. And, I think the Mandela, you just talked about that on the show, the Mandela effect and everything else. I think that has to do, with the time travel and times being changed for certain reasons.
Could ghosts actually be that they're trapped in time and not ghosts as we look at it? They're actually maybe alive, trapped in time?
Well, that's something that we've thought about too, because several of our EVPs that we caught, you could tell one, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something about the weather and the time. And it was like that, what the weather where he was at and time was different from ours. So that was a really interesting EVP that we got. And he had an English accent. So that was pretty interesting.
Ah, blimey. Have you ever had a time slip happen to you?
Yes.
What happened?
Yes. Well, I was traveling down 435 by World of Fun in Kansas City. And there was an old car that, I was in the center lane, and there was an old car that was traveling on the left-hand side of me, and it passed me, and it went, and then it moved over in front of me. And then the next thing I know, it's passing me again and then moves over in front of me just like it did before. The only thing that I could think of was it was a time slip. And I immediately called David, my husband, and told him that, hey, this is what happened. And he agreed too. So I think that was definitely a time slip. And another interesting thing about that time was he wasn't President Obama, but I don't believe he was President Obama then, but he was in Kansas City at that time. And during that time, there was a lot of the black big SUVs that would be going down the road, and they did that for like 2 weeks before he showed up. So,
Secret Service.
I don't know. I don't know if it had anything to do with it or not, but it was almost like with him being in Kansas City and then I have the time slip. I just felt it was kind of curious.
Yeah, I had that one time slip. I don't ever want to experience anything like that again. I just wonder, they talk about people going missing in the forest, for example, and they say maybe it's ETs or Bigfoot or whatever. Maybe people are going into a time warp, or where they go, they go into a time slip and they can't return, and then they vanish.
Well, it makes you wonder, there's so much that we don't know about. All we can do is really guess. And, we have our experiences here in our time and in our place that we're at now. But, with everything that happens, it's strange, or sometimes I call it woo-woo. It's there's something definitely more going on that we don't know. That we can only guess at it.
Well, maybe if you look at quantum physics, maybe we're just a computer program, and we're nothing more than that on some desk, on some technically advanced computer, on some foreign planet out there that a 4-year-old is playing, and we're nothing more than a toy.
Well, if that's the freaking way it is, then they need to fix my character. Okay, he was told not to butt in. My circuits. They need to fix my circuits. Something's broken.
Okay, guess what? I think we're out of time here. Yeah, yep, that timer went. Well, I want to thank you so much for calling in. Say hi to David for me, will you, Dave?
Hey, Gary.
Hi.
Okay, here, Jeff.
Okay.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
You have a great weekend, and don't do anything I wouldn't do. And if you get caught, blame it on your hubby, will you?
Oh, I always blame it on him.
Okay, and if he gets caught, he can blame it on you. You take care. Well, time slips. So many people I've talked to through the years, I said, hey, look, I went on this trip, and I stopped in this campground. And when I went back the following year, that campground wasn't there. I stopped and talked to the rangers. They said, it's never been a campground in that location. Now, what happened? Did they somehow get transported to a parallel universe? Did they go through a vortex? Something is going on. I tell you, a lot of things, and that we can't explain. That's the scary part. Life is just nothing more than I don't know. Well, I hope everybody's enjoying the show here tonight. This is a little bit different. And again, if anyone wants to call in, please do. We've got an open line, and you can certainly call in. The number is 716-405-0253. That is 716-405-0253. We're here, and you can talk about anything you want to talk about, but don't talk about my Aunt Bertha, who used to play the saxophone with a sax quartet down at the nudist camp. Okay, I think we got another caller. Caller, who do we have here?
Hey, Gary, it's Tom. How you doing?
Well, you got 59 minutes. You got 58 to be totally bored.
I have as much time as you need, sir.
Well, we got a couple minutes. What's going on in your life? Have you done anything exciting? Have you ever had a time slip?
I have never had a time slip. I've, let's see, in my psychedelic days. No, just kidding.
Well, that's astro travel. You know that. Completely different. My producer astro travels all the time, by the way.
I had the pleasure of finally getting our new single, Metatron Power and Light, out on YouTube and up on our website. It's entitled Tell the Truth. And considering what's going on in today's world, I think it's very timely. Val Von Torn and Charlie Gould worked very, very hard on this one. They ran into a lot of technical problems that took a lot of redos in the studio, but they came through. And had the pleasure of working with a new session player named Keith Clowater on sax, who just did a stellar job. So
now, did he play the sax Tom? Did he play the sax at the local nudist camp? And did he blow it really hard?
You know, Charlie and he have been friends for a while, and I really can't say. He's Charlie's friend, so I couldn't answer that question.
Oh, I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out. So you got the new song out, and can you listen to it on the website?
Absolutely. With the help of a friend of yours named Ricky, we got it up the other night and got it up on YouTube. And anyone that wants to go to either one of those venues can listen to it. And that's going to be the title song of our new album, which hopefully we'll have out by Christmas, Val, I hope.
Well, I'll put it this way. If it doesn't come out by Christmas, I would wait to spring.
Well, I think we're going to get it out. The thing that was interesting about this particular one is that the song was written by Val, the lyrics for it 10 years ago, and Charlie actually did the composition for it 10 years ago. And one of the problems we ran into is when he was using the original software to record it and tried to, in his studio, use the new software, he ran into several problems and didn't realize that was going on. So there were several redos in the studio. They finally got it fixed, and it sounds great. So I would ask everyone, if you really want to listen to some great, I would call it progressive, almost jazz rock, go to either our website or up on YouTube, and I think you'll enjoy it.
What's your website? How do they find it?
They can go to one word, small case, MetatronPowerandLight.com, and you'll go to the first page.
Okay, now after we did your sales campaign there, what else have you been up to?
I have been out. Today I was out chopping firewood. I live in a 2-story log home, and my only viable source of heat is my wood stove. So I was out cutting up firewood today.
Now, you're not cutting it on your neighbor's property again, are you?
Absolutely. Come on, Gary. If I didn't get into a little bit of trouble, life wouldn't be interesting.
But are we actually alive? Go hit yourself with the axe and find out.
That's a good question.
I don't know. I'm more confused. I mean, do you believe in time travel, or do you believe in time slips? Do you believe in old age?
Well, I obviously believe in old age because I'm there. But as far as time travel, I'm not going to say that it's not within the realm of possibilities. As far as time slips, you've obviously experienced that. And so I think that in this quantum field that we live in, I think that most things are possible.
I don't know if you
That's
could.
the kind of thing that we write songs about.
Yeah, if you could go back in time, when would you go back to? Would it be something in your lifetime, or would you want to go back to year one?
That's a really good question. I'm a believer in reincarnation, and there's a couple of lives that I actually remember. I'm not going to bore your audience with that, but wow, I'll put it this way: I'm kind of enjoying where I am right now. It's dynamic, it's fun. I'm learning things about the world that I didn't know about, things about myself, and I'm just enjoying life. So what I'm doing right now is just enjoying what's going on. I'm going to take a little hiatus. In fact, everybody in the band is kind of taking a hiatus. We're still a band, but we're off doing some different things. Charlie and Val are finishing up an album they've been working on for quite a while, and Corey's been doing some great artwork. In fact, he did a video. So, we're all doing different things. And although I'm going to promote the second album, I'm going to go off and have a good time and kind of enjoy, the fourth quarter of the ball game.
Well, wouldn't it be nice if we, instead of starting out, in a diaper, that's the one thing I always tell people. You start out with a diaper and you end up with a diaper. But, I mean, wouldn't it be kind of cool? You go from 80 and start going the other way. Now you're 80, then you're 79, 78. And then you just go back to, whatever, to wherever we're created from.
I'm really hoping, Gary, that in my golden years, I don't go back to that diaper thing, I don't think I'd enjoy that.
Well, there's a lot of people that do. I can tell you that. Well, Tom, anything else you want to say before Tinkerbell comes on and plays the song?
No, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and you and your family especially, and stay safe. And if you're like me, I know you're not going to stay out of trouble. So all I can say is enjoy yourself while you're getting into trouble, okay?
Well, I went and bought a bunch of turkey TV dinners for Thanksgiving. We're going to sit down and we're going to have, and they're left over from the 50s, Swanson turkey TV dinners.
That sounds like the sea rats I used to get when I was still in the military.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever, you were, yeah. I tell you, the little box I used to open up, besides having those X-Lex bars I used to give out to people, they thought it was chocolate bars.
Yeah, I can't repeat what we used to call those.
Yeah,
anyway.
But I tell you what, it was kind of fun. But anyway, I got some stuff at one time. We got some stuff that was left over from the Korean War. And in that, when we opened it up in that green can, the food was like it was green too, but it was mutton. I didn't know what mutton was, but when you open that can, I tell you what, oh.
Those things were bad. They were absolutely the worst sea rats. You really hope that you didn't get some of that stuff. And they were abominable.
Remember the chiclet gums?
I do remember. I remember before people got mad about it, they used to put 3 cigarettes, and they were either Luckies or Pall-Malls or whatever.
Yeah, but here's the other issue. They always gave you toilet paper, right? But after you ate that food, right, the amount of toilet paper they gave you wasn't enough. There was very little of like 3 strips, I think, as I recall. Yeah, I'll tell you that. Well, I tell you what, but you didn't have to worry about being with other service persons with their bad breath. That was other things. Anyway, you have a good one and stay out of trouble, Tom. And thank you for plugging your band. And everybody check it out at MetatronPowerandLight.com. How's that one?
Thank you, Gary. Hey, listen, have a great Thanksgiving.
Okay, make sure you send that check for $2,500 out to JC. Okay.
My hearing aids just went south. I didn't hear that. What?
I don't know. You take care. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to at least get one more call, I hope. And then JC and me are going to talk about, well, who knows? Maybe about his laundry doing it. I don't know. We'll be back. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio.
From beautiful Gig Harbor, the Night Dreams Broadcasting Network presents Night Dreams with Gary Anderson.
Hey, that is me. Again, time slips and stuff like that. Again, I've had one other thing, but nothing like the first time with my kids. Boy, I can just think about that hamburger. It was so great. But can you imagine the fear that you go through when you realize something isn't right? In that situation, I'm looking at cars from the 50s. I'm looking at people dressed of the 50s in the white glasses and the weird glasses and the hats and all the hairstyles. And I was scared. But then on the other hand, they were looking at me and my two sons, and we were probably freaks to them. They're looking at us like, wow, could you imagine, 20 some years ago, the style of clothes versus back in the 50s? That is so scary to encounter something like that. And then after you leave there, it really hits you a few minutes later. Then years later, you just think about it. What would have happened if we would have stayed there a few minutes longer? God, what do? Do I go back and drive my car, which was totally bizarre because they were looking at the car too. I mean, could you imagine they're seeing a car that was made in the 80s, and it was a late 80s, and they're in the 50s. So to them, it was like, wow. And I'm looking at their cars and I'm going, wow, can't believe that 54 Bel Air in the parking lot, and that 53 Chevy, and that 49, Dodge. You're looking at this stuff, and it creeps you out. I mean, it's scary. If you got trapped in that time frame, what would you do? Would you then get in your car and drive back? Well, if you go back, where are you going to go back to? I couldn't go back to my wife, where I was living at, because it wouldn't have existed. And if it did exist, it would be other people living it. Do I go back like that one episode in the Twilight Zone? You go back in time, and I go up to my parents' house and knock on the door, and my mom or dad comes out, and I say, "Hi, Dad." And they're going to look at, why is this middle-aged person looking and calling me Dad? That is really scary when you think about that. What would you do if you actually had to go back and you ended up back in time? How could you adapt to it? What I didn't realize is the money. If you look at it, the money from the year 2000, for example, or 1999, whatever year it was, compared to the money in the 50s, the dollar bill, the $5 bill, all looks different. The coins look different. I wonder what the cashier thought when I paid for the meal with the currency. I would have thought, oh, gee, it's counterfeit. Something, it's scary when you think about it. I wouldn't want to get trapped in time and go back in time. And then again, we've had the lawyer that claims that he's gone back in time and talked to George Washington as a young kid, or saw the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. I mean, again, is it possible in the future? Again, maybe it's a different timeline, a parallel universe. Maybe there is nothing. I don't know. I was reading an article today or yesterday about when we die. We don't actually die one time, we die twice. The first time we die is our body functions, the heart stops. The second is your brain. So you die twice. And a lot of people don't realize that. You think, oh, he's just dead. He just died. No, your body dies first. Your brain dies second. So you die twice. Boy, if that isn't going to hell, I don't know what is. Have you ever thought about that one, JC? You die twice. You don't just die once.
That's like going somewhere in a handbag almost. That would be torture. Yeah, no, I haven't thought about that. But now you're giving me nightmares, food for fodder that I don't want to think about.
Well, think about, remember when they had the guillotine and they would chop off the head, and then the head would roll, and the people, reported, they did that in France up to about 20 years ago. They still used the guillotine there. And they would say that the eyes were open and closing, and they were, the pupils were, opening, and closing. So that means the brain was kind of digesting what maybe, could you imagine what it'd be like to have your head cut off and your brain's digesting, like, what in the hell happened? And that science has come out and said when you die, your brain now functions for hours, not in the full state what we are, but it's slowly, it goes like in a dream state as a protection state, and then it slowly dies off. Could you imagine, like, these people that have near-death experiences and all that stuff? Maybe it's their brain just, comfortably, your brain, when you die, it comfortably, takes you out with nice memories, or in some cases, bad memories.
Yeah, there was actually a scientific paper came out this week talking about that very subject, about how they have found the brain keeps on going even though you're dead. So even like the head in the basket, like you mentioned with the guillotine, they're looking around, they can't say nothing obviously, but the thoughts are still going through their head. Can you imagine? You're seeing things and you're detached from your body, or you're dead, but you can't say anything.
You mean where they're holding the head up and showing everybody that's watching, and they're going, "Oh my God, and the horror, but yet they people are still, we're still warriors. You know that. Again, I've said this on the show many times. When I was a little kid, I was crossing the street with my friend and his little brother. His brother got ran over. Okay? And it was horrible. I'm not going to go into the details, but it was absolutely horrible. And it was a big group of people. They were coming out of their houses, right? They were stopping off the side of the road. There was and here I am like 8, 9 years old. And I'm digesting this circus of people, right? And they're going, oh my God, is he dead? And all this stuff, right? But they just, like, they were there for a long period of time before the police dispersed them. It's like they have to see blood for some reason. Why is that?
That's a very good question. And, very good. I've been in a lot of big cities, won't mention the cities, but I've seen where people have fallen or they're having a heart attack or a stroke, and people step over them or look at them, or you just keep on going. I'm like, wow. I mean, how could you do? You just going about your business. Somebody really needs help. I mean, it boggles the mind, but there's something about seeing blood in action. People, they'll actually sit and watch sometimes before they will lend a helping hand, Gary.
Yeah, it's and I'm sure you've ever seen a car accident and all the people stopping and gawking, or they have to slow down and turn their head, right, to make sure they get a good view. Is the guy covered up with a blanket?
Right, exactly. Look how many same scenarios are in movies. There was one where they brought the whole neighborhood in to come look at the poor guy. It's crazy.
Well, you know what I don't like? You mentioned movies. Do you realize nowadays, if you go on Netflix or you go on YouTube or you go on anywhere and watch movies, right? There's a point, like we talked about last Friday, when we had the actor, screenwriter on and all that. Years ago, you'd watch people, they get shot, but they never had any blood. They never had a bullet hole. They just dropped down and that. Now, you see all this blood and all this gore of everything. And why do we have that? Why isn't there somebody that is keeping this from being? I can see it in movies and they rate it, but on TV shows where young people can watch it, that's not healthy. And video games, God, some of these video games are just as bad. A lot of blood and guts. Like when my grandson was over here, he was some game with zombies and stuff, and people were being ate up alive. And here's a kid, 8 years old, playing a game with that. That's not healthy. What is it going to do to the youth when they get older? Are they the ones that are actually going to start going out and committing murders?
These are all very good questions. Funny you mentioned about the disgusting stuff. One thing I can't understand with these TV shows and even movies. We got a caller.
Yeah, go ahead and take that. And that's what amazes me. Why is this happening? I grew up with Father Knows Best, Andy Griffith Show. God, Mayberry RFD, Donna Reed, Dr. Welby, things like that. And I think, Rockford Files. Who remembers Rockford Files? Things were so good back then. And now, I tell you, I think it's setting this world up for a disaster in the future. If you really think about it, it's not healthy to sit and watch TV anymore. And, there's not many good shows on there anymore. Even the cartoons have gotten violent. And I'm talking really violent. Anyway, we got a caller. I think Jody is back on. I'm not sure. Are you the same Jody, or are you another Jody from another parallel universe?
Definitely from another parallel universe, for sure.
Okay.
No, you're talking about movies, and I was this past months and stuff. All I've been watching is all the old black and whites, the 50s and the 60s, and it was such a better time back then.
It was. And, even if people were getting killed, you didn't see blood. You didn't see their heads getting tore off and their intestines being eaten.
Yeah, no. And all the Netflix stuff and that too, like everything is going into this witchcraft, demonic, and this transgender, and all this crazy new realm of this world is opened up. I've been in TV land since my parents used to own a confectionery growing up in the newspaper. I lived in the back watching movies since I've been born. And I've seen the pattern, and like it's going into something scary lately.
Well, it really got bad when these zombie movies, okay, like The Walking Dead and all these movies, The Night of the Living Dead. And it kept progressing. And, now it's to the point, if you go watch Netflix, you're going to find more movies or TV shows on witchcraft or what happened at the cabin or horror movies than anything that's basically nice to sit down with your grandkids or your children and have a family night.
Yeah. Everything is, they're programming the kids now too in a dystopia world. Like everything is dystopia. It's all geared towards that, and we're bad, and we got to clean up our act, and the world's going to get destroyed itself. And it's like there's still some good programming out there, but that's why lately I've been reaching out to the 50s and the 60s for the good old stuff.
What's your favorite old show? Dick Van Dyke Show?
No, I've been stuck on. I'm a sci-fi girl, Gary. Everything in my life for 40 years is sci-fi, and it's Twilight Zone lately. I don't know, just the old original Twilight Zones and just all that older. It's all the info that they give. They give these little tiny things, and there's symbology and stuff in those old movies and stuff. If you go back and look at it.
Oh, it really does. Humphrey Bogart. Casablanca, there's so many good movies you could get involved into. And now, I don't care what it is, even if it's a comedy nowadays, it's either sexual oriented or it's violence thrown into it. And again, is that, but one thing that really upsets me, Jody, those old commercials, if you watch like the old Groucho Marx show or anything like that, they would, the commercials and all that stuff. But you know what? The commercials were meant for somebody that has a low IQ. And I'm saying that because now the TV shows are meant for somebody that has a lower IQ again, because we went to a certain level in our society where everybody wanted to go to college. Everybody, wanted a great education. They wanted to be a lawyer, the doctor, the stockbroker. Now, a lot of young people, they don't even know what they want to be. They're working for McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, and even starting back then in the commercializing of everything, it all started for people to buy products. It was how to be the good housewife and how to have the best 2 fridges in your house. And that stuff hasn't changed now. And our kids are just getting bombarded with you don't need to be in reality anymore. You can have your friends online. And that's getting pretty scary.
That's the point right there. Not even online. You got the cell phone. That's worse than a video game. And not just kids. Yeah. Okay. There's adults, including myself. I had to break the habit. My life at one point was being on media all the time. And one day I sat there and my son came up to me and goes, "Dad, when you're not doing your show, you're sitting there on your cell phone all the time. And you're watching a movie. Can you tell me anything about the movie?" I go, "What movie?"
Yeah. No, it's like being addicted to just the information that's out there. It's like, but not retaining the information or portraying it back in any sort of way. It's like this feeding machine. It's like it's become into this crazy feeding machine.
And, we have lost something. I'm at the age. I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have a TV for a while. I mean, my dad had to have money to buy a TV. And I remember we had a big old Philco radio, which it looks like the one in my studio. And that same radio. And all our relatives on a Friday and Saturday night would gather in our front room, right? They would bring some food and ice cream, and we would sit there for hours and listen to different radio shows. And you would close your eyes and you would imagine the guy walking the stairs, right? And you could hear his feet and you could see it in your brain. And then you hear the door opening up and you could see him walking in the door. You had to use your imagination to put it all together. And it was fun. And then, the TV, we got our little TV with a little 5-inch screen, round circle TV. And all the relatives were there and we're watching it. And, we were watching shows like the George Burns show and things like that, and it was good, clean, fun, nothing, because it really didn't have much plots back then, Even Mr. Ed didn't have any plots. But,
well, when you're a kid and you go back in your bed, and what do? You're not sticking a phone in your face. You're sitting there and you're imagining this whole world in your head still. And then you go to dream and you're still creating this whole world. And you wake up and you're still the superhero, And people forget that we're all superheroes. And like all these, I think the tyranny that's going on the most is people are losing their imagination. Like we need to create this world, and we're not really doing a good job right now.
No, our brains are not.
My take on stuff. Is my 7 minutes up yet, Gary?
Yeah, well, we got another minute. I'm going to say this. When I remember a kid, I remember certain shows. I remember it. You know what's really bad? If I go and ask my son or even my wife, what movie or TV show did you watch last night? I don't know. Well, and if they remember, I said, what can you tell me a little bit about? No, I don't remember. That's the problem. They don't remember because the shows suck.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole lot more of that going on. And studies are proving to show the more we got more frequencies in the air and more EMFs and everything else, like there's a lot more Alzheimer's and memories and time jumps. And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. But I don't know. I still say find your plot of land, find a good man, and stay focused.
Yeah, but am I actually here? I could be a figment of your imagination, Jody.
Hey, well, I already know about your naked girls on the beach dream, Gary.
No, it's not on a beach. It was on Hawaii. It was a waterfall, and there was a pond, and they were giving me grapes, and they were beautiful naked women. And you know what happened on that dream?
Octopuses.
No, but here's the point. What triggered the dream?
You just didn't see them.
No, what triggered this whole dream of the naked girls and the waterfall? Our dog was laying between me and my wife, and the dog had an accident and peed the bed. That warm water in my sleep, it triggered the dream of the waterfall. With that in mind, Jody, I want to thank you for calling in. Okay?
Well, you have a great weekend. Here we have our Remembrance Day and then my birthday, and it's all well.
Okay, kid. You take care.
You too, Gare Bear.
Bye. Well, it's true. How many of you guys actually, especially us older people, you can remember old shows, right? But how about a show you watched last week? How many of you can really remember what you watched? An episode of what's ever on nowadays. JC, have you ever the same thing? Have you noticed you watch something that has a lot of blood and guts and you don't even remember what it was 2 days later?
Oh no, unfortunately I remember. That's what unfortunately I can't get it out of my mind. That, and I don't need to see people getting sick. I know they're sick. They don't have to show that. Really. They don't have to show it. I agree with don't have to show, but I'm on the opposite end. I remember that. That if I see it, I remember.
Oh, we got another one. Okay, go ahead and take the call. Well, we're going to take this little quick break. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with The Strange News. Physicists say time travel can be simulated using quantum entanglement. When we figure out exactly what that is, we'll go back and update this story. I'm Guy Ticker. The Strange News is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Digital Broadcasting Radio, like it should be. The best in paranormal talk radio with your host, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. We have a Thomas on the line. Thomas, well, thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Hey, I've got, it's kind of a personal thing that happened to me. I used to sit outside at night and like Bert on the TV show Soap and look for aliens. And it was August of about 94, and we had moved to the desert in the Palm Springs area, and we're down in a valley, and we got these mountain ranges all around us. So we kind of get a good view of all the, August always has a falling star show. And I was sitting out there and wasn't drinking and or anything, and was watching these stars, and there were just millions of them. And then I noticed down in the south, my house is east and west, and I was in the east part of it in the backyard, sitting in the pool, and I noticed this one come over the horizon above the mountains, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, I realized that, I said, man, that star's getting close. It's going to hit in the desert here someplace. And then it was just a big white flash, and the next thing I know, I'm looking over the mountains, and I can see the, pine trees, the tops of the pine trees, the tops of the mountains, and I've flown over this area a lot. And I woke up, and it was about 10 o'clock the next morning. I have no recollection of what happened. I woke up, and my right eye was really sore. I have my T-shirt with a pocket, and the pocket was in the back. And I was just real groggy, so I didn't go to work that day. But when I continued, work and everything, I noticed that people would say something, and I could swear that it had happened before, the déjà vu effect. But this was more than that, because it was actually that I had lived or been in that time and knew exactly what was going to happen next. So that was, I don't know if that was something that, it could have been an alien abduction, or I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Well, if your T-shirt was on backwards with a pocket in the back, unless you're like me, okay, something happened.
Yeah. I didn't, there was no implant things or anything like, do you hear another alien? Because I've studied the alien abduction stories, and it just, it's classic, because you can't remember this, but I remember looking at the tops of those trees coming over that mountain. So I evidently had been up in something. And, the other funny thing about this whole thing, this was back, there was a big airplane crash around Chicago airport back in the 90s, and I can't remember what airline or whatever it was, but that night I was telling my friend that what happened, and I said, I bet there's going to be an airplane crash within the week, and it was that very next morning. So I don't know if I had, just a weird premonition, or I had, been in that time period also. I don't know, but it's always been food for thought for me, and all the episodes and stuff that, you've had on there, it brings back some type of a link to what I experienced.
Well, I do feel our time is almost up here.
I don't know, so.
Yeah. Well, hey, Thomas, our time is up. I mean, I do appreciate you calling in. You can actually, if you want to call in next Friday, and we can continue. I'm really curious about your abduction or possible abduction and what maybe happened. So if you want to call in next week, please do. And I want to thank you so much for calling in, and you have a great weekend. Will you, Thomas?
Okay, thank you. You too. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, my friend. Well, boy, the extra hour went by so fast here tonight. And I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank Thomas and Kim and Mother Scorpion, Thomas, and everybody who's been on chat here tonight. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for that. And again, this people on chat through iHeart, a particular radio iHeart station that was on chat at the beginning of the show. Larry Hagelin, Steve Cox, Terry Morgan, Sue Thomas, Mark Davis, Betty A. Johnson, Candy Baker. Yes, the Baker twins. And Helen Roberts. I want to thank all of you guys again for listening to and supporting the show on iHeart. So everybody have a good one. We will catch you, well, guess what? Next Wednesday. Make sure you listen to the Hitman Show on Mondays and Tuesdays.